All right, Luca Nation, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We're going to bring you a short, sweet, and to the point episode today. I think there's going to be a ton to discuss, but we're going to keep it succinct for you guys. And as always, we're going to bring you two amazing plays, one that I'm really excited about personally. But first, dude, I think Donovan Mitchell doesn't get enough love, Gage. I really do.
No, I saw your
Man,
video.
have
That
you
was
seen
very
his last
impressive. It was a
you
very
saw the
impressive
video
video.
I made?
Yeah. Yep. Very impressive.
Well, I just do the talking. Gavin does the video editing. But no, like if you look at his last, let's use his last 10 games, okay? 33 points, 28 points, 24, 21, 42, 31, 30, 27, 35, and 35. And he's not playing that many minutes. He's playing about 33, 34 minutes a game. Do you think, maybe they deserve a bit more love than they've been getting?
Well, they're getting a lot of love, right? I mean, if you talk about his cards, they're not getting a lot of love. The team is. I mean, aren't they the team with the best record?
Yeah, but that's not what I mean by love. Like, I'm talking about people are sleeping on them. People are saying, the Nets are going to win the championship. They stacked their team. We need to talk about that because LaMarcus Aldridge just signed with the Nets. But here they are, the best record in the league, best record in the West, too, with the Clippers and the Lakers. Who would have thought that? And, here we are. What do you think? What do you make of it?
Do I think people are sleeping on him? No, because you still have to get through the gauntlet of the playoffs, right? So you're a pretender until you're not. You know what I mean? Sure, they are a contender, but until somebody knocks the Lakers off or the Clippers off or one of these teams that has actually done it in the last couple of years, the Suns, they're just they're not that great. The Jazz with Donovan Mitchell, they're just one of these teams that has a great record, and I'll believe it when I see it. It's there's no better way of saying it, And as for the Nets, right? If you're asking my opinion on that, as for the Nets, what the Nets team reminds me of? They remind me of. Now I'm a Yankee fan, so I'm even going to go opposite sports, right? So the Yankees won in 2000, and then they had a drought from 2000 to 2009. They won again, so there was like 8-year period that was in there. And during that period, they tried to bolt onto the team with additional like aging superstars. Messina was very, very good Yankee. They added on people like Jason Giambi, and players like that, right? And they just kept going back to the well, and it didn't work because they were missing that. What made them great, and don't get me wrong, obviously adding Roger Clemens to your rotation is always going to be very helpful. But what made them great in 96, 98, 99, it was the homegrown talent, right? It was the cohesive unit that was there. They played as a team, right? I mean, as much as you can in baseball, but it was they were playing with each other and for each other. And there's something to be said. You had it right that while they didn't win a championship, what made the Heat make it through the East last year was, that they were playing basically for each other, like they had a team, came from ownership, came from the GM, came from the coach, whatever it may be. Right. But, it's tough to maintain that. And it's tough to, get the right recipe, especially when all you're going to do is just add on these like big money superstars and be like, well, come on, look at this team. It's a fantastic team. Look, but there's a difference between sports and fantasy sports. Right?
Yep,
if this was
100%.
a fantasy season, I would give the Nets the championship right now, right? Because they got a crazy fantasy team. And if we got in our time machine and went back 5 years ago, I'd give them the championship definitely because, Blake Griffin and LaMarcus Aldridge could actually play then. I don't think Blake Griffin's dunked since the 90s. So I mean, not that you have to dunk to win an NBA, but you understand what I'm saying, right? I mean, these guys, they're names, but they're has-beens. So
and a team needs an identity.
Right. It's already was questionable with just the three, how they were going to play as a team, right? And they haven't had to play as a team yet. And now you're adding in these other guys to the team. And, I mean.
You know who it reminds me of? And I don't want to use this team in vain because I love this team and I was a little disappointed. Do you remember when Karl Malone and Gary Payton signed with the Lakers in 2004?
Of course.
You remember that? It was kind of towards the tail end of Shaq and Kobe's kind of relationship. They weren't jiving as well as they should be. And then you bring in these two huge personalities, right? It's not like the guys on the Nets are small personalities. These are guys that have egos. They demand attention. And now the attention is split 4, 5 different ways. It's super fascinating. I think this is actually going to lead to them having less success than they would have if they just left the team as it was.
Well, I guess we'll see, man. If egos are allowed to take a back seat, that's very difficult when you get to this level, because the only way you get to this level is having a huge ego, right? But if they're able to figure it out, I mean, the Nets have more talent than anybody. I mean, you can't really argue that. But you're right. I mean, it takes more than just the best talent. That Malone-Payton example is a great example, right? I mean, it really is a very good example of people coming to try to just get a ring. I see a lot of people complaining about the Nets super team, though. I tried to go back in time to see whether or not there was, there were any complaints like when LeBron was on the teaming up end of it rather than the complaining end of it. Most of the people they weren't complaining. Although I'm going to give Buster a lot of credit. Hoops Nation, right? Take a look at his page. I took a picture of it. Buster Hoops Nation pulled out a message from Kevin Durant from July 16th of 2010. The internet never lies and it never dies, right? So on July 16th of 2010, a decade ago, right? KD Trey 5, Kevin Durant says, now everybody want to play for the Heat and the Lakers. Let's go back to being competitive and going at these peoples. Well, now everybody want to play for the Nets, KD Trey 5, and you don't seem to be coming out and having a problem with it. So, listen, nothing dies. It's always there. So, I guess what's good for the goose, right?
The internet is absolutely undefeated. So let me get into my play. It's an NBA play. It's a guy on the Clippers. Do you know he went to Florida State? Do you know who I'm talking about?
A guy on the Clippers who went to Florida State. Charlie Ward? No, he played for the Knicks.
His name is Terrence Mann. His name is Terrence Mann. Yep. Very dynamic, very athletic, kind of a slasher. He's a guard forward. And I'm excited because this reminds me a little bit of penny stocking, a little bit of the course that I'm taking. There's a stock that kind of is flatlining, and starts to peak up. And it starts to peak up with more volume. So what do I mean by that? If you look at Terrence Mann's last few games, he's getting more than 20 minutes a game. Last 5 games, he's getting 22, 29, 24, 32, 28 minutes a game. And he's rewarding. He's rewarding that time. He has 16, 21, 7, 10, and 23 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists. He's shooting extremely well. No turnovers. In 5 games, he has 3 turnovers. Why do I say that? I went on eBay and I looked at his prices. His prices are $1, $2, $3. Well, on StarStock, they're $7 or $8. Also, this is not a guy that was graded, Cage. This was not a card that was graded. So you could pick up lots of his cards, like, 5 cards, 4 base and a green for $35, $40. You could, 1, send those to PSA to get graded. 2, you could hold them. Or 3, you could send them to StarStock. And this is a guy who the Clippers kind of cleared out a little bit of their depth. And I think they're going to be using a 6, 7, 8. Maybe it's usually an 8-person rotation heading into the playoffs. And this is a guy that's going to be putting up 15 to 20 points a game in the playoffs for them. So I would buy his cards now. They're cheap. I like the kid. I personally am not a Reggie Jackson guy. I think Reggie Jackson is the worst player in the entire NBA. And what I mean by that is, the consistent thing when the Thunder had Durant, Ibaka, Harden, and Westbrook, Reggie Jackson was on that team. And he's a guy that just takes the ball away from other people. And I don't see him getting a ton of time late in the game in the playoffs. I see Terrence Mann turning into that guy. He's a much smarter player than Reggie Jackson. He can play really well with Paul George and Kawhi. And I think that this is going to be the deal of the year. I really do believe that, because his cards are $1, $2, $3, $4, and they could become $25, $30 cards. They easily. He could be the Tyler Hero of this playoffs. So that's my play.
Well, if anybody knows Tyler Hero, it's you. Terrence Mann. We just got back our PSA sub last week, and we had a Terrence Mann mosaic auto in it and got a 9. Boo! That was one for Ian's collection. Was hoping for a 10 on it because he pulled it out of the pack. So Terrence Mann, I always pull for that guy because that is James Earl Jones' character's name in Field of Dreams. Terrence Mann. So lots of fun. But yeah, I like it because look, he doesn't even have to turn into Tyler Hero for that to become like a 3, 4, 5x play. So good job. I like it. So I'll try to keep it short and sweet. Also, my play is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be for you guys to do a little research in it and go where you want with it. But I am excited about Prizm basketball coming out this week. And not because I'm excited, because I'm going to get boxes upon boxes. It's thousands of dollars of these boxes.
Let's clap it up for Positive Cage. We need Positive Cage back. Are we going to get Positive Cage back this week?
Cage has a headache today, man. So Cage is a little low energy, which is not normal. But
that's okay.
But I will tell you, I got yesterday. Panini posted something that gave me more high energy, right? Because I needed something like this with a basketball release, and I hope it plays out the way that I think it's going to play out. People chase, they open boxes, they open, cases, they open, a ton of product looking for LaMelo and Edwards and all these great guys. And those are going to be great cards. They're going to be expensive. They're going to be fun. But Panini posted pictures last night of the product. And, everybody knows what the Prizm cards are going to look like because they you saw them in football, right? So you know what these cards are going to look like. The borders, the edges, the colors. Everybody knows what it is. But they stuck in a little sneak peek of, let's call it a subset. I mean, I don't know if we're going to call it an insert set, but a little subset. They've done them before, right? Panini Brilliance. They've had Fireworks. They've had Luck at the Lottery. They've had all these little, like subset kind of like, inserts that they put in. I found it odd because I would have expected them to do it next year on the 10th run of their product, kind of like as an anniversary. But they are doing a throwback set. They're doing 2012 Prizms with the current players on them. And one of the pictures they put up there was like a silver of Zion, not a great pose. But then it was a silver of Kyrie also in his Brooklyn jersey. And I'm like, that card is sweet looking, and they're going to be subsets and, people are chasing, the Prizm rookies.
What's the difference between a subset versus an insert?
Usually subset is part of like the main numbered set and an insert is its own numbered set. So they didn't show back, so I can't tell. But I imagine it's going to be an insert set. Subset is like, I'll try to think of like the best ones. Like when I used to collect Fleer baseball cards, there was a Provision. Those little art ones. They were part of the 660 card numbered set. They were number 658 and 652, whatever. They were part of like the main set, so they're like a sub portion of the set. Whereas if there was an insert in it, it's a different numbering. Like Luck of the Lottery is, LOTL 1 through 15. That's the difference. It doesn't really matter which version it is, but I like them. I think they're clean looking. Like I said, 2012. This is now 2020. It's like their 9th set. 2020, 2021. Next year will be the 10th set. I would have done it as a 10-year anniversary, but I don't care because it's cool. I will be looking for people who are doing breaks, and maybe one of the things is 2012 throwbacks. Instead of a team or people who are selling them after they're breaking this stuff and selling them on eBay for cheap. I'm going to be looking for these because I think it's going to be a really cool companion to the actual 2012 cards. Like I think people will actually go after a Kyrie in his Brooklyn jersey to put it next to the Kyrie and the Cavs jersey, a LeBron 2012 throwback, if they have one of those, to put it in the Laker jersey next to the one in the Heat jersey on his 2012 card. Like it's a cool side-by-side kind of thing, for people to make little slabs with or whatever they're going to do, right? But that's not the play, all right? The play is if there are other people out there thinking like me who are going to be chasing those 2012, parallels, then follow me 2 steps. One, it's going to give renewed attention to the 2012 cards, right? The 2012 Prizm cards, which I think is going to show a little bit of a price bump for those 2012 Prizm basketball cards. People are like, oh, I got this LeBron. I wasn't in basketball cards in 2012. Let me go and grab a LeBron 2012 Prizm. Oh, I got this Kyrie. Let me grab a rookie. Let me grab a Kyrie. But I will tell you what happened with me the last time I went and did this deep dive into 2012 Prizm basketball. I started bargain hunting in the other sports. And you saw that after the LeBron went up and after the basketball ones went up, the Brady and the Breeze and the Trout, even though baseball is not licensed, right? So I took a little time today, after seeing this last night, and I was going through this whole 2012 Prizm rabbit hole, and I looked at baseball. Just you guys, if you want to do football, you do football. You do basically what I'm saying is go for 2012 for whoever you like. You want to do rookies, great. They give you a little more money. You want to do, non-rookies, big players, you name it. But I looked at 2012 baseball and I looked at PSA 10s. And you can get PSA 10 2012 good players for less than what it costs you now to sub a PSA, the $50 sub. You can get $25, $30, $40 PSA 10s of, I'm talking like stars. I'm talking like legit players from your favorite
Cage,
team.
you want to talk about just the other day we were talking about the draft picks play you gave with Mookie Betts, remember?
Yep. Yes.
What was the PSA 10 going for in that card?
So that was, and let's see what happens, because I hope to get some of those back, and hopefully people who listen to us back in July and August when we were talking baseball and making that play. So that wasn't a 2012. That was a 2013 Prizm draft pick, non-licensed. Same thought process on it. But Mookie Betts has cards in 2014. Bowman and Topps and whatnot. He had a 2013 Prizm card, a Prizm draft pick card that I didn't even know about. Right. Sort of like the Abreu one that we talked about in his Cuba uniform. And this was. They said the Boston baseball team. It didn't have the Red Sox on it because it's not licensed, right? But it's his first card, basically, right? And we were given that play. The raw ones was $7, right? If you wanted to buy a whole bunch of them, if you wanted to overpay, you were paying $10, so $7 to $10. And the PSA 10s were anywhere from $65 to, on the high side, $100. You saw some selling for. More like $65 to $80 was the average price at the time we gave the play. I don't want to. You put me on the spot. I just want to make sure that I have it, because I'll tell you, I looked this up last week because I have a bunch in at PSA, and let's pull up the most recent. So I see some for sale here, but basically, I mean, they're high $200 to $300. Let's pull up some of the most recent sales. Yeah, $280 and $300 are the last two sales. For that Mookie Betts card that we gave at $7 to $10 raw, because no one was grading them, no one was doing it, right? No one was looking for those. Nor do I think people would. I mean, now at $280, it's possible if you buy it raw to grade. That makes sense, right? At the time, that was a play that I don't think we would have given with the PSA pricing the way it was. $7 card. If a PSA 10's getting you $60,
that's
a
true.
9's getting
that's very true.
What if a 9 comes back $25, $30? You're in trouble. You're losing money on that. You're underwater. So, it's an interesting thing. But the point being on the play here is, the 2012 Prizm cards. I think people are going to look at them. I think people are going to be, there's going to be more attention on them, especially because people who are in, collecting now, they weren't doing this in 2012. Right? They've been doing it the last couple of years, and they're going to see that 2012. It's a clean design. It's a classic design. And obviously, Prizm, Panini, is paying attention to it, right? Because they are, they're giving an ode to it in the 9th year of release, which is weird, right? Like I could have seen the 10th year, but I mean, guys, you go back to like the baseball. Bryce Harper's got a rookie in there. We've given that as a play, right? There are a ton of great cards in there. If you're a Met fan, you think Yoenis Cespedes is going to have a year this year. You get under $50 for PSA 10. Darvish, right? I mean, Darvish is like a perennial Cy Young candidate. Probably should have won it last year. I see one right now in front of me, a PSA 10 with the rookie, the Panini rookie, shield on it, $47. And there are several of them, so these are, rookie cards, star cards, Hall of Fame cards. I see a Greg Maddux for less than $50, another Cespedes. So I'm doing this as we're talking here, as we're going through it. These are cards that I think people who are collecting don't even know about. And I think now with the release like that, I mean, this is everybody talks about Flawless and you name it. This is like the hobby release, right? Prizm is the one that gets all the eyeballs, right? The average collector is going to be looking for your Prizm, LaMelo, and the whole deal. And they're going to be watching breaks, and they're going to see these 2012 cards come out. And for some people, it's going to be that first kind of, oh, wow, that's a 2012. Those are pretty sweet looking. Let me grab a couple of those. And kind of just, I'm trying to follow the breadcrumbs on this one and lead you towards where I think some money flow might go before it goes there.
Love it. Short, sweet, like we promised. Cage, UFC, I know you started your career in sports as a cage lawyer for UFC players, whatever that means. Anything about the UFC fight last night? Anything...
So listen,
anything else you want to leave our Luca Nation with?
Yeah, if you're a UFC guy, Stipe Miocic will never get the respect that he deserves. The guy was a heavyweight champ for a long time, won it back, fought some wars. And for some reason, he doesn't get any real press. He lost last night to Nagano, who's, it's another belt for an African fighter. It's pretty impressive, the run that they're on right now. And, the only newsworthy thing coming out of this is there's now going to be a Twitter war of words between Dana White and John Jones, because Jones is allegedly bulking up to come step up to heavyweight and maybe, challenge for the fight. But it's going to take a little bit of money from Dana and the UFC to do that. But that will be a huge fight if Jones comes up and fights for the heavyweight belt. He's never been beaten by anybody but himself, both in the ring and outside of it. He lost a fight to Matt Hamill once for an illegal elbow, 12-6. That's the only blemish on his professional record. Yeah. So it's, think of a clock. You're not allowed in UFC rules to elbow straight down, like from 12 on a clock to 6.
When the guy's on the ground, right?
Yeah. So you
when
can't.
You're on top of the ground.
Yeah. So, and he did that, and he got that's the only blemish on his professional record. Obviously his criminal record has some blemishes on it, but we don't need to go into that. But the offshoot on that is, Panini's supposed to be coming out with their first UFC product this year. So we'll be able to, I'm really excited about that too. So if you're a UFC, collector fan, you name it, it'll breathe some life into what's been a pretty dead product, I think, for Topps. It's great. Everybody wants the Connor stuff, but they haven't really done much recently. It'll be nice to see what Panini does.
Hey, do you know, I love it. The Charlotte Hornets are 4th in the East. Your Hornets.
Yeah, I said that. In
position. Yeah?
I was 2 episodes ago. Remember, Ian yelled it out.
Oh, well, I thought you said it today. Right. I think it's cool, man.
It's cool. It's definitely cool.
I said that.
Because it really was shining a light on how close the gap between 4 and 8 was, and like the Bulls, who were out of the playoffs when they made their trades, could easily sneak up to the 4 spot because they were only like 3 games back of the 4 spot. But the Hornets seem to not be losing. I think they're playing a day game today. And I read an article. Right now. Yeah, I read an article about LaMelo. They're saying that his timeline might be shorter for rehab, and that if they do make the playoffs, he might actually come back and be able to play. Maybe the last week of the regular season. They're saying they need to cast for like 5 weeks, and they need to rehab it. But they're saying that as of today, there's a shot that he comes back this year instead of missing the rest of the season.
Yeah, it's one of those injuries that you probably shouldn't be worried about bringing him back early. The thing is, they're probably not going to make much of a run in the playoffs, but it'll be cool to see Melo in the playoffs, especially with his Prizm card out, right?
Exactly. If nothing else, right?
What's your strategy here? Yeah, what's your strategy here of playing Melo? Are you waiting for his? Do you expect his card prices to be insane, kind of like the hoops, and then trickle down? How would you play Melo Prizm right now?
So I don't think they'll trickle down. I honestly don't. I mean, if anybody was waiting on the sidelines for Burrow or Herbert or any of those prices to come down, they didn't, right? They just stayed on the sidelines waiting for them. Those prices basically, started high and stayed high, and they're still high. So, if you're hoping for like a LaMelo Prizm to fall, you're probably not going to be lucky. You're really not going to be able to do that just because this is what everybody's chasing. This is what everybody's looking for. Pricing is really high for boxes this year. Those Prizm boxes are really expensive. So I guess my thought on it is, those first couple weeks when people are, especially if you're not looking for LaMelo per se, looking for anybody else, but when people are breaking, when people are busting these boxes and they are trying to get back as much money as they can, that's when I think I'm going to be grabbing. People are trying to get their money back on breaks.
I love it. There you guys have it. See you tomorrow, Luca Nation.